Hello everybody, this is Merrill from Metal Detecting NYC, and take a look at the ground, because this is actually what we call in education a teachable moment. You got snow on the ground, and this is going to give me a good opportunity to talk about whether coins sink or not. To save you the suspense, they do, but we're going to go into the physics on why that they sink. It's a metal detectorist's worst nightmare because really there's a lot more stuff than what our detectors can pick up that's very deep. And we're going to go into why coins sink and some opportunities that you have to get those older coins or objects that you want.
So I made an animation of a totally plausible coin drop scenario. Let's go take a look. The year is 1763. Redcoat Officer Merrill is standing in front of a colonial house singing "God Save the Queen." He gets so into the song that he forgets that he is holding a King George II farthing, and the coin drops to the ground. Upon hitting the ground, the coin starts a 250-plus year subterranean journey. But Redcoat Merrill dropped the coin in an area with soft soil that is not compact. This area gets a lot of rain each year. By 1776, the farthing sinks to a depth of 3 inches under the ground. That is 3 inches in 13 years.
But why did that coin move so much? 3 inches in 13 years?
One factor is the type of soil. The soil in this made-up scenario is like the stuff you would find at a garden store. It is soft, well irrigated, and non-compacted since Redcoat Merrill stood in the same place for 13 years. There are other types of soil that behave differently, though. I have noticed that coins barely sink when there is a high percentage of clay present. That makes sense due to the thick texture and viscosity of clay. It also makes sense because it is tougher for plant life to grow in soil that contains a lot of clay.
But objects don't just move down. The soil level often moves up. Wait, what?
That's right. A big portion of soil is dead organic material. Plant life lives, dies, and decomposes into soil with the help of some of the critters we see in nature. So not only do coins sink, but the soil level rises very slowly above a dropped object.
So now we know that coins can sink, and also that the soil level can rise. But just about how far down can coins go when they sink?
In order to answer that, let's go back to the animation. It is now the year 1800, and we zoomed out so that we can see the layers of soil. There is topsoil on the top, subsoil underneath, then a layer of rock above the bedrock.
It's important to note that there's no generic width of each one of these layers. It's different as you go across the earth. And there's a direct relationship between the amount of water and how that water flows through the different layers of the ground that dictates how quickly a coin will drop.
So we already know that this area has a layer of soft topsoil and that it gets a lot of water. The water flows down until it pools at the bedrock layer as groundwater, or even flows down to lower channels that were carved into the bedrock known as aquifers. These aquifers are basically underground rivers of groundwater.
Now, am I telling you that old coins are ending up in aquifers? Highly unlikely.
What I am telling you, though, is that a coin can drop through a layer of topsoil very quickly until it meets more resistance. The subsoil usually contains a high percentage of clay. This layer also contains more rocks that will slow down or stop the coin's descent.
So take note, in this scenario, from the years 1800 to 1900, the coin dropped another 8 inches. Also note that this rate of descent is much slower than the first 13 years.
Now, let's zoom to the present. The coin has only dropped another inch and is 13 inches from the surface. It hit more solid soil over 100 years ago and has dropped extremely slowly since then. Miraculously, It has remained away from the thousands of bottle caps and pull tabs that people have dropped, and no sod has been added to the surface which would push it out of the reach of all metal detectors. It is at the outer limits of the retrievable range.
Pretty soon, I'm going to teach you how to retrieve it. But first,
Metal detecting logic.
so now we know all about the sinkage of coins. How can we apply this knowledge to our practice of metal detecting? I tell you what, I'll give you a scenario. You go to a park and you're digging, you find 5 deep signals though. Um, all of those deep signals are clad coins, minted after 1970. What does that tell you? Since these were deep signals, the deepest that your metal detector can get, and they're new coins, it would tell me that you're not going to get anything else that is silver or older than what the deepest signals give you. It could be if you got one deep signal that, you go and you have to verify that with another one, that's logical. But if you keep getting deep signals and the deepest results that you recover are new coins, you better find yourself a new park.
But how do I find old sites to metal detect?
The best tip that I could possibly give you is the site historicareals.com. Basically, you could put historic maps right next to current maps. Think of Google Maps. This is Google Maps on steroids for metal detectorists. Basically, you have like layouts of the land. You could see if something has been landfilled. You get an entire history of the land. You could go back more than 100 years with topographical maps. It is free, and a generation ago of metal detectorists, they had to go to libraries. That still can apply, definitely, but this is something that it's just easy. It is so easy. And before I go and hunt any site, I go to historic aerials. You should too. Just quick point, the Golden City series that I did, each one of those, any one of those, has historic aerials in there, and that'll show you how to use it. What do I need to dig really old stuff? You need location, 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 and then a little bit of know-how. So these are the 2 oldest coins that I've ever dug: Spanish real and a farthing. Why do you think I chose, farthing for this? This is actually the oldest coin that I ever dug. I'm not a member of the 1600s club yet, but this is a 1753 farthing. The story on both of these coins is that, yeah, they were deep targets, and I researched the land on historic aerials, and you have to be really precise with how you swing your metal detector with this. You really want to drag it on the ground as much as you can. You got to get it as low as you can because you really have to be precise. The middle of your detector has to line up with the signal, because the further down that it goes, the more narrow that the signal, the pulse from your detector gives out. So you really have to be lined up right in the middle. Um, Most of all, again, I want to reiterate that you have to be in the right place. Not all places are going to have a lot of history. That's why you got to do some research, or you have to ask around to people to see if you are indeed on good ground. You need good ground for it. If you are just guessing and going to parks that have been landfilled in, you're never going to get the old stuff. But if you can pinpoint land that has history, that hopefully has not been changed too much, that's where you really can find some great stuff. What I look for on historic aerials, I look for similarities. If I see a similarity between what a place looks like today and what it looked like however long ago, that's a place that I want to dig.
What tools do you need, and what conditions are optimal?
Let me start with optimal conditions. It definitely, definitely helps if you go the day after it rains. I have heard that, and I will swear by that because it has really worked for me. I would say you get on average an extra inch on your detector on the day after it rains because it increases the conductivity of the ground. In terms of tools that you need, I would recommend a bigger coil. I have something called the Watt coil, WOT. It stands for Wild Orange Thing. It's gorgeous. What can I say? It's really big and it's bulky to swing. There's no doubt about it. But I use it in old parks, and there's two ways that you could go about this. Some people most old parks in New York are trashy. Most people prefer to go with a smaller detector head and go in between the trash. Me, I like to dig the trash. If you have trash that is, I don't mind digging it in a park that has a lot of history because it could recover or uncover a really old signal. So I prefer to have that extra big coil on my detector, and it gives me the extra depth. I have to do some digging in between when there's trash, but that's okay. Wider coil, more depth. Regular coil, you could get down to maybe about 9-10 inches. The one that I have, you could get down. Deepest I found a coin is 14 inches with the watt coil. Are all old coins deep targets? Oh, heck no. So let me tell you the story of this coin. This is an Army and Navy token, and it is a 1863 coin that was minted during the Civil War, not by the United States government, but by civilians. And it took the place of currency. It was used as currency, and people accepted it, but not minted by the government of the United States. Short tangent aside, this was found on the surface, and this is where I learned out about clay as well. There was the clay formation that I showed you before. This was found right underneath, just like not even an inch below the ground. And I felt the difference digging in that type of soil. Oh, it felt so different. It's so easy to press into topsoil. Clay, on the other hand, oh, it's some heavy stuff. So, no, it does not mean that all old targets are deep, even in New York City. Walk us through retrieving an old target. So, part of the fun of metal detecting is you don't know if you're digging an old target. You don't know if you're digging gold ring. You don't know if it's a penny. You get some clues based on the target ID on the metal detector, but you really don't know. I get excited sometimes when I know that the target is extremely deep. And you get the sense when it's a larger target or even the type of metal. The more that you get to know your metal detector, the more that you can build good assumptions on what you're digging. Silver is conductive. Bronze, copper, that's conductive too. But in terms of the aging of the metal, copper decays a lot more. So if you get a crystal clear, ideable signal that is deep, chances are, unless if it's a double signal, like two coins within the same location, chances are it's something that's silver. Gold, it's the same thing. But basically, the days that I'm really excited to go are the days that the ground is wet, the days that the grass is short. Oh, that's huge. Basically, that gives you a few extra inches when the grass is short. And I've researched the park, and you have to hit it on the nail. You have to get the middle of your detector over the middle of that target in order to get the deepest possible signal. But what if objects go out of reach? Now, I have no doubt in my mind that in New York City alone, there are thousands, if not tens of thousands, of 1700s coins that are out of range or just totally hidden because they are masked by bottle caps, all of the trash that generations have dropped on New York soil. So, will those become in reach again? I've seen land get bulldozed time and again. New York, there's always buildings coming up. Other places and New York, there's always sidewalks that are getting raised and demolished. And, that gives us opportunities. Um, a good hint that I could give you is wait for a concrete area for the concrete to get removed and then metal detect that. I have found countless great things just stopping my car and just detecting right over that ground because that ground serves as a sarcophagus. It essentially blocks the water from getting down there. It doesn't entirely, but it slows down the dropping process. So if you see a sidewalk get demolished, oh, you want to get in there right away. If you see a street get demolished, you want to get in there right away. Um, if you see a bulldozer pushing the topsoil away, oh, get in there because that'll give you the extra few inches. I would say the maximum range that a metal detector can give you is probably what I have right now with the watt coil, about 14 inches. I've never seen deeper than that. Let me know in the comments. I'm here to learn too. If anybody knows something that can dig coins that's more than 14 inches, I'd be curious about that too. Always in the market for that.
Yeah, yeah.